there, happy Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about the 5 reasons why name calling is just silly. The 5 reasons why name calling in any conversation is just not a good thing. Let's just step away from it. Let's just step away. And here's why. Here's the 5 reasons why. One is it does nothing but brings negativity into the conversation. Like, period. All it does is we are deciding to bring negative energy into a conversation. It isn't neutral. It isn't positive. Its only purpose is to bring negativity into a conversation. So that's number one. Energetically, not great. Number two, when you're name calling, it's kind of obvious that you're deflecting. Once we name call, what we're doing is stepping away from the subject and going to the person. You're no longer arguing or talking about the subject at hand. You have decided to deflect the entire subject away or the entire topic of the conversation away from the original topic and to a person. So now we're talking about a person instead of the actual event or the subject of the conversation. So it's a deflection technique. And what does that mean? So that's number two, right? Number three is, if it's a deflection technique, why do people deflect? They either, one, their ego got bruised and they have a lack of emotional intelligence and emotional control. And once someone's, gets poked and there's that, and their emotions kick in, that's when they just can't even handle staying on task and they decide to give a verbal punch in the face, right? And all that is a deflection from they can't control their own emotions. And so they have to become violent verbally versus physically if that is their boundary for them, right? So it's showing a lack of emotional control and that, their ego was bruised. And so they need to deflect. Another reason to deflect is lack of knowledge, right? Like, maybe I already said all the things I had to say and then that wasn't enough to convince you. And so, butt head, right? Like, it's just, again, it's a deflection from the fact that you have a lack of knowledge on this subject and you've run out. And so here we are. Now all I have left is to call you a name, right? And even if you do have more information or more knowledge, it's a perceived lack of knowledge. Once you, again, turn it away from the subject of the conversation and turn it to a human being, and through name calling, that lets me know that you're all out of knowing about the subject. And so the 5th reason to stop using name calling, please, is that all it does is, again, takes us away from any possibility of coming together. It is, there we are. You have absolutely made the choice that this conversation will never come to a shared conclusion. It will never come to a compromise. It will never come to us agreeing on anything. You have right there in that moment decided that we are no longer trying to move forward into the future. That's it. I'm cutting that off. I am moving us further away. So none of these things, moving away, deflecting, getting overly emotional, like all of those, bringing that negative energy in, all of these things say to us, we don't want to, anything positive, anything potentially productive to happen. That productivity cannot happen once we start deflecting, moving, changing the subject, and all of those things. And so that says a lot about the person doing the name calling and not the person whose name has been called. So notice that all we talked about today is the name caller and what it says about them when they call people names. It says that they don't know, they're not emotionally intelligent. They're not intelligent about the subject. Their ego is bruised. They don't want to move forward, like all of those things. That's all about the name caller. They think it's a power play and that it shuts people down. But in reality, it just shows people that you're not playing the same game. You don't want to play the same game. You do not have any interest in moving forward together. And that's all about the person giving the name. You think you're harming the other person, but the reality is you're just showing your own cards and not theirs. So let's all just get away from it. There's no upside to name calling. So let's just stop, shall we? Let me know what you think. See you next week.